Hello there, I'm Black Bright News, and I've been a bit remiss because I've had problems speaking over the last couple of weeks. It's been going on for ages. Anyway, it seems to be getting a little better now, so I thought I would talk about Shabana Mahmood, and especially in the line of her saying she believes that migrants or immigrants should earn their way to settlement. Now, apart from a few bad eggs, they have been earning their right to settlement. They've been paying thousands and thousands and thousands every single year in order to get settlement. They've also been working and complying in order to get settlement. So to ask them, on top of it, to build an extra tier, which is learn English to a high standard, I think it's reasonable to have English to a certain standard. And the other one was they have to volunteer in their community. And of course, they mustn't have a criminal record, that's a given. But I think asking them to volunteer in their community, can anybody afford to volunteer? I think retirees should be the ones who should be volunteering for their community. Anyway, I've written some notes because I personally believe she wants to know what it's wrong with the country and she wants to know why it doesn't work for us. Or should I say, why doesn't it work for the white Brits? Because it's the white Brits who are most discontent. And I think it goes without saying that the majority of the discontent is post-COVID. A lot of people during that lockdown period lost their jobs, lost their relationships, lost their sense of self-esteem, lost enthusiasm, lost their sense to go into work, and they lost a lot. That lockdown is responsible for a lot of the ways that people are feeling these days. It's responsible for a lot of the mental illnesses. It's responsible for a lot of the paranoia and the feeling of insecurity, the feeling of being betrayed, the feeling of being out of control. So, because so many of them lost so much. It wasn't just about locking people away for 2 years and not allowing them to see families and friends. It was forcing people to face their innermost demons. And it was forcing people to face the people they were living with. And a lot of them hadn't really done that. I mean, when you think about typical marriages or relationships, you have a break, don't you? You go off to work, they go off to the pub maybe, they might go out with the guys playing football, or the women might have a woman's group. But two people and the family were forced to stay together 24/7 and realised, a lot of them, that the person that they were living with, they just didn't like. And so that caused problems. Anyway, if I babble on too much, I'm not going to be able to let you know what I've got in my notes. So I've got here, why doesn't Britain work for its people? I love that a lot of the mindset has to do with post-COVID, which is what I've said. Inviting immigrants to stay as long as they learn English to a high standard, have a clean criminal record, and volunteer in their community is not going to cut it. Too many are already here who have not fulfilled that criteria. I believe, this is my opinion, that it's got a lot to do with lack of accountability and lack of responsibility, and that's of the government and the people in power. People are just not willing to admit that, and this is about the civilians. People are not willing to admit, I can't be bothered, I'm depressed, I lack enthusiasm, working doesn't give me joy anymore, I feel overwhelmed, I feel tired, I'm unable to give myself to my work or to my family, I feel alone, I feel misunderstood. When family members feel the same, this is what causes a breakdown, because nobody wants to admit that this is what's causing the problems. But instead they blame it on the immigrants. They blame it on the migrants. They blame it on the legal residents. A lot of people feel betrayed by government, and a lot of employers feel betrayed by government, those that are not supported by grants. Britain is not and has never been an open, tolerant and generous place. It has survived by making use of skills in the most efficient way possible. But now it's come to bite them in the bum. While the indigenous Brits lack lustre, so the imported ones do too. Because what was once a pleasure is slowly turning into a nightmare, with fear of instability and all those traits indigenous Brits are feeling. The traits, the fear, the instability, that is what the immigrants are feeling, whether they're legal or whether they're not, whether they're on the path to legality or whether they're not. I was attending a meeting last week about why people are feeling uncomfortable, and we've got people, there was a lady whose husband was from Malaysia and he was on the final route to settlement, and he's concerned it's causing stress in the family. I can imagine that when they're talking about immigrants, it's not just black people. I think people just put immigrants and think they're talking about black or Asian, and they don't realise there's so many white immigrants in the country that these laws are going to affect and impact. Working class communities cannot trust politicians regardless of who leads. In our frustration, they will accept the one that they feel will benefit them the most and realise only too late that they've made a mistake, just like Brexit. Harping on about small boats and hotels is not the real problem. The real problem is more serious. It's about divide and rule. It's about setting us up to attack each other. It's about distracting us from the real problems, so we won't notice the mess that the government is putting the country in. Yes, blame it on the immigrants. They've always been an easy target. So I've put that, I was writing down, my thoughts as I read the article. This is the article. And Mahmood demands migrants earn right to settlement in the UK. It's not solving the problem. The problem, as far as people are concerned, is that there are too many migrants. They don't care whether or not they earn their right. They just don't want them to be here. When you're thinking about Nigel Farage, that is why he will probably win the election, because he's actually saying no more path to settlement. The only thing, like I said in a previous video, is, still got my problem, is that those already in transition, those already near to settlement, they should be allowed to continue. But they also have to think about who is going to do the work. When people are lacking lustre, when people don't have the energy, when people don't want to admit they're depressed, who is going to do the work when you don't allow the immigrants to do it for you? And it's kind of a catch-22 situation, because they don't want the immigrants. This is a minority, of course. They don't want the immigrants in the country. But they're not tackling the issue that they're already here. And a lot of them that are already here have a right to be here. A lot of them are born here. When I say immigrants, a lot of people don't discern between somebody born in the country and somebody who's not born in the country. They just see immigrants as black people and Asian, as I said.